Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the podium Mr. Achilles Tsaltas, the President of the Democracy and Culture Foundation.
Καλησπέρα σας, κυρίες και κύριοι, και καλώς ορίσατε στην Εθνική Πινακοθήκη. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Democracy and Culture Foundation, I would like to officially welcome you to the 12th Athens Democracy Forum in association with the New York Times. This year's theme is a moment of truth. So I just cannot stand in front of you today, almost a year since this atrocious conflict in the Middle East escalated, and not mention it. Yes, we can argue that October 7 was a terrorist attack, but at the same time, we need to acknowledge that what is happening now in Gaza and Lebanon resembles an act of terrorism, unleashing this alarming new phenomenon of distributed weapons of destruction amongst all these deaths of innocent lives. Even though defense is in the acronym of IDF, the disproportional and continuous retaliation is not defense. This seems to be more opportunism to settle old scores and preserve the political power of the few, and it's all good and well for us, in the West in particular, to be lamenting about this and about this senseless war in Ukraine. And what about the wars in Africa that are going mostly unnoticed in comparison? This is our moment of truth. We are becoming rather immune, even biased, I would say, especially in the West, on the way we talk about wars and inequality. It seems to me that we are losing our compass, our humanity, and we are in desperate need of some soul-searching. This is what we at the Democracy and Culture Foundation want the purpose of Athens Democracy Forum to be: to gather a diverse group of people, those we agree with, and more importantly, those that we disagree with. So I'm very happy to see people that do hold adversarial points of view on democracy to the established Western thinking in this year's program. And I welcome them in the spirit of dialogue and debate. Because as Kofi Annan said 5 years ago on this podium, we need to regain the art of listening. As Adrienne Clarkson, commenting on migration, said, we are all human and no one is more human than the other. And as Kishore Mahbubani said, democracy cannot be exported, it can only be imported. So let us bring down the veneer and let's talk. Let's have conversations in search of solutions and a peaceful world. It is only in this way that we will give democracy the chance to evolve. We believe that 2024 is a moment of truth, mainly reflecting the multiple elections this year and the AI argumentation where the billions spent by big tech and governments have shifted the momentum to the most ambitious and perhaps the least cautious. Although I must say that war and inequality is even more so our moment of truth. In the search of truth, trust, and ethics, we need to go back to basics. So we have the Aristotle-Confucius dialogue this evening, moderated by Farah Nayeri, after Stephen Erlanger takes us through the State of Democracy panel, given all these elections. And then we are lucky enough to be in this fine institution of the National Gallery, so we will view a thought-provoking exhibition on democracy commemorating the 50th anniversary of the restoration of democracy in Greece, Spain, and Portugal. Incidentally, this is the theme of this year's Democracy Award that will be bestowed by the Mayor of Athens tomorrow evening. So thank you to the National Gallery and Ms. Chiara for this experience, and especially to Anthony Komninos, who's hosting us this evening, and his foundation's wing in this building is hosting the Democracy exhibition. Let me also take this opportunity to thank all our moderators, not just Stephen and Farah, but also Pulitzer Prize winner Roger Cohen, who has been the host of this forum for many years, Jyoti Totem and Pamela Paul, joining us from New York, and under the skillful stewardship of Kim Conniff-Tabor, our editorial director, we have a superb program for you. I would like to thank all of them and all our speakers this evening, but also over the 3 days of this forum. I would also like to thank our headline sponsor, Microsoft, our gold sponsor, Google, as well as other sponsors like Global Challenges Foundation, Climate Democracy Initiative, Arizona State University, Libra Philanthropies and McGruin Institute, and so many others that you see on these screens. With the support of our sponsors, this forum extends far beyond this room into the special report that you will see in tomorrow morning's New York Times. So over breakfast, you can read it and set the tone for the forum. And your contributions actually will be reported in another follow-up special report next week on October 10, distributed in more than 160 countries and online, of course. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the big truth is that we owe the future to our youth. So I am delighted that 45 teenagers aged 14 to 17 are among us from around the world as delegates and co-discussants. We just had a really interesting session with them and 4 MPs for our caucus parliamentarians, and it was refreshing to watch this exchange. And among the many other youth here under 30, hats off to the Global Liberal Arts Alliance for their continued partnership and their 23 students acting as our rapporteurs and challengers as we seek outcomes that will serve youth and sustain future generations. As I mentioned to the teenagers this morning, if I attended a few of these forums when I was 15, and that's more than 40 years ago, maybe our world today would have been a little bit different and we would have avoided what we've been through the last 40 years. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, above all, for all of you coming from all corners of the world. Thank you for your contributions. Please engage with social media, your questions. And let me hand over to Stephen Erlanger, our Chief Diplomatic Correspondent for the New York Times, on this panel for the state of democracy. Stephen.